Did you know that one of the most important and influential video games to ever exist is Mrs. Pac-Man? Back when the original Pac-Man released in 1980, it was incredibly popular amongst women. Part of the reason why Pac-Man was so successful and became a gaming icon is partially because of the female audience. It was to the point where eventually, when the developers decided to release a sequel 2 years later, they decided to focus on the female player base. Thus, Miss Pac-Man was born, and it was instantly universally praised for its improvement upon the gameplay of the original Pac-Man, but also for having a female protagonist. And to this day, 40 years later, Miss Pac-Man is still considered one of the greatest and most important video games to ever exist. I'm about to blow your mind when I say this, but in case you didn't know, women play video games. I know, wild concept, but believe it or not, it's true. And something about the gaming industry that I have never understood is the fact that they are hell bent on ignoring the fact that women play video games. Really, when was the last time you saw a big, high production, high budget game that focuses on a female audience? The closest thing we really have to something like that is Animal Crossing or Mario Party, but those aren't really games for women. Those are games for everybody. They're family games, something that everybody can play. Children, teenagers, young adults, your grandma and grandpa. For some reason, an industry that is obsessed with making as much money as inhumanly possible continuously avoids the fact that women play video games. You could very easily make games that target women, and women will buy those games, but for some reason, the industry just chooses to avoid that. In many ways, Infinity Nikki is the modern day Miss Pac Man. It is a game that is very specifically targeting a female audience and is very well made, having a high budget, high production, great gameplay, and is universally praised. However, recently the game has decided to just absolutely destroy itself. They're releasing incredibly buggy, glitchy patches. They're making a lot of business decisions that the player base just absolutely despises. For example, you can buy a $50 bathtub. What? They increased the amount of pity for the dresses, which means you have to spend more money to get dresses just because. Originally, pity was 180 summons. Now it is 220 summons. 40 extra summons. That's like an extra $70 or something like that. Wild. That is crazy. And for some reason, they just completely retconned the original story. The original tutorial and story sections is just gone. Like the opening section of Infinity Nikki is just gone. It disappeared and was replaced with this absolutely bizarre thing where Nikki dies and destroys the world, and she meets like an angel or god or something, and then she like goes back in time. But it's also heavily hinted that the Nikki that we are playing as now is not the same Nikki we were playing as back when the game launched up until version 1.4. It's very heavily hinted at, if not just straight up confirmed, that it's a different Nikki. We are not playing as the same character, which is what? That is crazy. That is insane. A lot of people are not happy with the game, which is not surprising considering how bad the last month has been for it. And what's worse is that things are not going to get better. Like the developers have basically admitted that while they're sorry for what's happened, they're not going to revert any of the changes. The dresses are still going to be 220 pity. Things are still going to be insanely expensive. And the bugs and glitches and all that stuff, hopefully they fix them, but you know. Essentially, what they've said is, we're sorry that you're upset, but we're not going to make things better. And things are probably going to get worse in the future. We're probably going to make more dumb decisions that's just going to make you even more angry because the higher ups, the people in charge, and the investors are all incredibly greedy, just brain dead morons who, for some reason, are hell bent on destroying a incredible game. I think Infinity Nikki is amazing. Now, obviously, I am not the target audience. It's been, I think, stated by the developers that Infinity Nikki is very specifically made for women. That's not to say that men can't play the game and enjoy it. A lot of men play the game. I'm one of them, and we are able to enjoy it. I've seen Infinity Nikki be described by women as a game targeting a girlhood fantasy. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I can feel it. While I'm playing the game, it's like I can feel this like magical energy, like this very princess thing where you're like going around and you're saving the world and you're playing dress up and you're going on these fun adventures with your cat. Like I can feel it. I don't necessarily have the connection. I don't understand that aspect of it, but I can tell there's something here. There's something deeper that a lot of women are relating to and connecting to. And because of that, I think it's a very important game. And that's part of why I think it sucks that the game is just dying. It's being destroyed for literally no reason. A part of me wishes that Infinity Nikki was just a boxed product. It was just a game that you can buy for, let's say, $40, $50, $60, and it had a clear beginning, middle, and end. I wish it wasn't a gacha game. I wish it wasn't a game that was continuously releasing updates because because of the fact that it's a gacha. That's part of the reason why all of these things are happening. Let's be honest, right? The insane greed with releasing a $50 bathtub, increasing pity, adding more dress pieces. Well, I mean, that's the same thing as pity, but you know what I mean. Like the dresses that you can buy are very expensive. They're like $20 in the shop. Like all of these business decisions are being made because it's a gacha. If Infinity Nikki was just a normal video game that you can buy, it was a normal box product, none of these problems would be happening. And I think the game overall would just be better because it would have a clear story with a beginning, middle, and end. You can start the game, you can enjoy the journey, and then eventually you'll have this grand, amazing, beautiful resolution. And then you would also have a wide variety of dresses that you could probably unlock by just playing the game, progressing the main story, doing side quests, exploring the world, doing various activities. That would be how you get the dresses by just playing the video game instead of having to gamble, instead of having to drop $20 on a one outfit, you wouldn't have all of these problems. And hell, I mean, even if it was a box product, you can still release like DLC. You know, if the developers wanted more money, they could release dress packs. You know how fighting games have characters you can buy, and they're usually relatively cheap. Depending on the game, it varies, but the cheapest I've ever seen is like $2. The most expensive I've ever seen is like $6 or $7, I think. It was something like that. But usually it's like $5 for a character. They could do the same thing for dresses. They could have released DLC where the dresses are just like $5. It's like, sure, whatever. And hell, they could even do like expansions. Maybe once a year they release like a big expansion to the game. Like the game launches and it's the Mirrorland story. It's a game where you go through this big journey in Mirrorland. It has a beginning, a middle, and end. And then a year later, they release a big Sea of Stars expansion, and it has this big new explorable region. There's a new story, there's a wide variety of dresses, there's new gameplay gimmicks and mechanics and things you can do, right? That would be great. But we didn't get that. Instead, it's a gacha game that is continuously getting updates that are, let's be honest, pretty empty. The updates of Infinity Nikki are not great. Like they're fine, I suppose, but they're not that interesting. And the Sea of Stars update is easily the worst, and I think we all know why. The reason why I think Infinity Nikki is such an important game is because it proved what I and a lot of other people already knew, which is the fact that women are willing to buy video games. Women are willing to spend money on these things, and women deserve to have more games that are dedicated to them, whether it be little girls or teenage girls or young adults or your grandma. Like women of all ages deserve more video games that are being made specifically for them. And Infinity Nikki just proved that, because Infinity Nikki is a game for everybody, it's for all ages. And I would be remiss not to mention Lads Love in Deep Space, which is made by the same studio as Infinity Nikki. That game also proved that women spend money, except the difference is that Lads is a dating sim, and it's also a game with like very suggestive content. It's not straight up like pornographic, but it's very risque. You know, it's very suggestive. Suggestive. I don't. I feel like I'm saying that word wrong, but yeah, Lads and Infinity and Nikki just kind of proved what we all already knew. Women spend money and deserve more high budget, high production, well made games for them. Yeah, I mean, all in all, it sucks to see what happened to Infinity Nikki. And I think Lads is also going through some drama as well. I think there's some stuff going on there. I don't play Lads, but I like heard some whispers of some stuff going on there. So I guess Infold in general is just destroying themselves. If Infinity Nikki really does die, disappears, gets shut down because of everything that's been happening, that sucks. But I hope the success that it's had motivates and inspires other studios, other developers to finally take the plunge and make more video games for women. You know, I hope it happens because, again, Infinity Nikki was a great game, and I would love to see more games like it. Obviously, not like a carbon copy of it. I don't want to see Infinity Nikki, but just with like Infinity Tanya or something like. No, I think it should be a different game with its own unique identity and its own unique gameplay mechanics and systems. But at the end of the day, it should be a high production, high budget, well made game targeting women. You know, I think we need more games like that. But yeah, it sucks to see what happened, but feel free to share your own thoughts about this whole topic. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and if you really enjoyed the video and want to more directly support me, become a channel member for just $5 a month. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye.